So the language is probably my favorite thing, really, just learning the language. My trainer was actually huge into that, and he passed that on to me. It's just really, just digging into the language, because that's really at the core of Norwegian values. They love their language. It's special to them. It's, their thing that separates them from the rest of the world. Like, no one else speaks Norwegian. There's like 5 million people that do, and that's it. And they're really happy about that. I'd say one of the hardest things, going from American English to Norwegian is getting the vowel sounds down. It seems like something that's really basic, but our American vowels sound a lot different from their Norwegian vowels. And, just learning a second language, you pick up on that a lot sooner. I'd say that's the main thing, too, that separates, someone who's been speaking Norwegian for a long time as compared to, someone who just barely got to Norway. Is, how accurate can you get the vowel sounds? Another kind of cool thing is Norwegian for me. I tried to learn Spanish a lot in high school, spent 3 years, and it was absolutely gone after my third week in the MTC. I can still pick it up just a little bit, but I can't speak it like hardly at all. Norwegian for me was actually a lot easier to learn than Spanish. There's a few cool things about it that make it easier. There's some things with the grammar that make it a little tricky, but as far as, just like in Spanish, every verb you use, you have to, conjugate it to like, okay, he's saying this, he's doing that, or like I'm doing this, I forget the specific grammar term for it. But in Norwegian, the verb is the verb and that's it. Like all you have to do is future, past, and present tense, and other than that, doesn't matter who's saying it, that's the verb, you use it. And so that made it really easy. I'd say, yeah, becoming conversational in Norwegian doesn't take a long time. You can learn the words and just kind of use them. And, putting sentences together is a lot like English. There's just a couple things that you have to flip around. But other than that, like English to Norwegian turns out really well. I think, yeah, like one of my buddies said, like there's a ton of dialects all over the place. And, at the start of your mission, that can be a little intimidating because it sounds like, at the start, like there's a different language for every area you go to, but you learn it's more just kind of accents. There's a few different words they use. So that's the thing. In Norway, yeah, there's a lot of dialects. And I think in most countries too, you kind of get that, different people sound different from over here than they do over there. And with Norway, it just kind of got really extreme because the country's so long, like north to south, to where people got really isolated and they really started talking different from each other. And so, yeah, at the start of your mission, it seems like there's a different language for almost every area you go to. But towards the end of your mission, it all makes sense a little bit more. It all flows a little bit more. It seems like, okay, it's more so just an accent, really, instead of, a completely different language. And that's where it really, becomes a dialect. They use different words, and it's really, just kind of basic things. Like, I remember in my last area, they had a special word for the garbage. And, it was different from anywhere else in Norway, but still, like, you could recognize it if you were just speaking in Norwegian. Mostly out of the context, you can catch it. Other than that, in Norwegian, there's two, like, main written forms that they have. There's like, the traditional book language kind of written area. And then they tried to take all the dialects and kind of throw them all together and make this new written form that looks like it's a dialect kind of written. And it's called New Norwegian. And it's really interesting. It's actually really fun to read. And I don't know, the Norwegians kind of looked at it for a little bit and they didn't like it. And then when they tried to get rid of it, they're like, wait, it makes us special. We like it. We're going to keep it. And so that's just kind of an interesting thing about Norway is you don't have a lot of countries where they have two written forms. I mean, you'll have some, like with Chinese, you'll have traditional and then the new reformed stuff. But other than that, like, I thought that was a really cool thing about the language. They really just, overall, Norwegians love it. They geek out about their language.